My wife fell ill, she was hospitalized, and I had a 3-year-old daughter in my care. And the job is such that neither time off nor vacation can be taken now. Where do I go with such a little girl? I can't imagine. I had to ask my mother-in-law to help me, to take Mia to herself or come to us, but something must be done. My mother-in-law came to our house. I came home late from work, played with Mia, and talked to my mother-in-law. She's a good woman. She gave birth to Helen, my wife, barely 18 years old, and now was in the very juice, even before reaching the age, as they say, berries again. And she had character, calm, friendly, and with her son-in-law, that is, with me, she found a common language quickly. We're not that far apart in age. Helen's a lot younger than me, so there was no friction. On the contrary, everything was nice and fine. My mother-in-law looked after Mia, cooked, ran the household. That's how we lived. At work, I handed over the object to the customer, received a bonus, excellent workday, came home early. We started to play with Mia, attracted my mother-in-law to the game. Mia laughed merrily, catching up with Grandma, who ran around the room on the back of a hot horse, which was portrayed by Daddy. Holding on to her ears not to fall from Daddy's, or rather from the horse's back, she pounded her heels on the sides, spurring the horse. Noise, laughter, joyful cries of the daughter. It was bath time. Mia, by her usual habit, made a storm and a tempest in the bathtub. My mother-in-law and I stood wet and waited until the ship with sailor Mia moored to the shore. The wet robe clung to my mother-in-law's figure, and her figure was still very good. Mother-in-law's physique is similar to Helen's, but a bit thicker. But it makes her even more beautiful, and gives the charm of a mature woman. And their faces are similar. Sometimes it seems that two sisters, younger and older. Her breasts are a little bigger than Helen's, and her ass is wider. Well, so Helen to her mom is still almost 20 years from the age of her mom, so they will be equal in the future. My mother-in-law's wet figure brought on sinful thoughts, especially since I haven't had a woman for a long time. My mother-in-law felt my interest in her and quickly calmed Mia down, pulled her out of the stormy ocean and sent us to bed, saying that she had to change into dry clothes. We were soaked. Mia slept, and my mother-in-law and I sat in the kitchen. I bought some wine with my bonus money, and we sat tasting this drink and talked about life. We talked about family problems. My mother-in-law began to say how happy she was for her daughter. What a good husband she got. Loving, attentive, caring, gentle. Let her son-in-law not be angry and not offended, because it is known that mother and daughter have no secrets from each other. So she knows even how we are in bed. How lucky Helen was to have such a husband, who will wash a woman in the bathroom and in his arms to the bed to carry, everywhere kisses and kisses even there. Mother-in-law had never seen such a man in the movies, let alone in life. She lived her life with a drunkard who did not say a kind word, did not caress, only yells. At least he keeps his hands to himself. No, Helen's lucky, very lucky. And my mother-in-law's husband will come home drunk and go to bed. And if he wants something, he'll pile on like a beast once a month, fidget on her for a couple of minutes, stinking of booze, come and go to bed. No kisses, no words of affection. My mother-in-law was telling me, and tears were running down her cheeks, her lips curved in a bitter grin, her nose reddened. She sobbed, wiped her tears with the back of her hand, and continued her story. And I looked at her and thought, because a normal woman, but she has no happiness. And how much does a woman need? And I began to console the woman, saying that everything will get better, everything will work out. I stroked her head like a child. She sobbed even harder. Squatting down in front of her, I kissed her crying eyes, collected the tears running down her cheeks with my lips, kissed her swollen lips. In a moment, those lips responded to my touch, and in another moment, we merged in a kiss that was not at all related. We stood in the middle of the kitchen and kissed furiously. Our hands fluttered over our bodies, and we did what grown men do. After we had released the tension we had accumulated, we lay cuddled together. In the middle of the night, Mia woke up and whimpered. We jumped up together with my mother-in-law and rushed to the nursery. Having drunk her daughter, my mother-in-law leaned over her crib and hummed something, rocking Mia. After lulling my daughter to sleep, we went to bed. In the morning, when I went to the kitchen, my mother-in-law was preparing breakfast. Mia was still asleep. Mother-in-law was cheerful, happy. She moved easily and even hummed something. standing in the doorway, wished her a good morning. They had breakfast in order. After washing her daughter's sleepy face, they went to the hospital to see her mother. Helen was happy to see us together. She quietly asked me not to hurt Mommy. Then, privately, she whispered about something with her mother, while Mia and I collected leaves in the hospital garden. At home, my mother-in-law told me that her daughter had asked her to keep an eye on me so that I wouldn't go off to the left. And if there was such a moment that I would be ready to snap, let only my mother is not offended and will understand, asked her to replace her, temporarily acting as a wife. She, of course, ashamed to talk about it, but she has always considered her mother as her friend, and she has no one else to turn to with such a request. And searching on the side is fraught with the possibility of taking away from the family of a good man. And the mother-in-law promised to do everything her daughter asked. After putting Mia to bed, we went to bed together as spouses. Now our games were leisurely, but still as passionate. A woman had awakened in her mother-in-law, and this woman was trying to take the chance that fate had sent her. In the evening, before going to bed, my mother-in-law and I discussed Helen's request in the kitchen, and I cried, "I'm not lying. How she loved me if she dared to make such a request." And my mother-in-law cried, happy for her daughter, for having such a husband. Helen was released from the hospital. The mother-in-law went away. What she told Helen and what she withheld, I don't know. Only that my wife started sending me to my mother often under the pretense of helping her. And when I came back, she never asked me anything. And I noticed that my trips to my mother-in-law coincided with Helen's periods. After a while, Helen herself admitted to me that pushed my mother into our bed, that she was a little jealous. But looking at the way my mother blossomed, happy for her, and does not regret what she had done. After all, and I am enough with plenty, and sometimes even is superfluous my activity. Enough and Mom. Mom is very grateful to her daughter for her permission to use the surplus. Except that Helen worries that I will get used to Mom and fall out of love with her, my wife. Kissed and reassured that, dearer to me than she and Mia, there is no one in the world. But we never stopped sleeping with my mother-in-law. And often when my mother-in-law visited us, Helen herself sent me to her, first satiated to the end. And all that was left was for the three of us to fall into bed. But something kept stopping me, and one day after a feast on some holiday, it happened. And the sky didn't fall to the ground, and the earth didn't open under our feet. And then my father-in-law died drunkenly. Mother-in-law moved in with us. Her house was left as a summer house. About a year and a half later, Helen got pregnant, and now Mia's going to have a little brother.